Greetings, friends. So, I wanted to take a moment and talk to you tonight about a series of booklets that my friend Justine Isherwood is going to be putting out to the public very soon. And the booklets are, um, or they pertain to his experiences with trout. And if you know anything about Justine Isherwood, him and trout, that's kind of like peanut butter and jelly. They go together. Different, but they go together. So, and these books that he's putting out, they are more. They could be considered really one book, but when I spoke with Justin about these booklets, he mentioned that he wanted something that would be affordable enough where you could spend $5, quickly read something, and when you have another $5 you can pick up the next one and quickly read it. He didn't want something that would inconvenience your pocketbooks. So he has what is going to be three booklets coming out. I am going to review with you a little bit of the Church of Trout, but there is also Allure of Trout, and then first there was Trout. So, and these booklets revolve around Justin's experiences with trout and how that has shaped his life from being a child to being an adult today. And I find it a little bit fascinating. But, that said, I don't want to give much in the way of spoilers. I'd rather have you pick it up and read it because they're not very large, books. They're booklets. So, for instance, the Church of Trout is 32 pages. So, and let's see here. First, there was Trout is 22 pages. Allure of Trout, I believe, is the longest. Well, no, it's 31. So, these don't take very long to read, but I find them fascinating because if you know Justin's writing style, I find it very organic. It's not like, you're just sitting down and reading, you know, a big name published author. In today's world, you can pull an author off of a bookshelf who maybe is, a New York Times best-selling author, and you get the same vibe from every book. And with Justin, his writing style is very personal to him. That for me, I have to kind of, when I read a paragraph, sometimes I have to kind of go back and reread that paragraph because it's written in a way that is so different. That organic quality to it is different than any other author I've ever read, and I enjoy that. But going to the Church of Trout, there are four essays in this little booklet, and the first essay is called The Trout Goddess. So kind of giving that view of uh, his initial experiences with trout kind of as a child. And there's a particular paragraph in here that, you know, trout and religion and philosophy kind of intermingle here. And as a theologian, I find this description in this paragraph absolutely interesting. The paragraph is: trout is a religion. There are synods and churches built to trout: the trout God, the trout Bible, the trout creation story. My other grandfather was an oracle of the trout religion. He told a creation story as only a pipe smoker can tell such a story, punctuated by his tending the briar. This is all well written down somewhere in a trout hymnal as part of the order of worship, probably including the briar pipe to authenticate the trout mass. I I love that particular description of how he brings in his grandfather and his grandfather's pipe. In high church theology, you have incense and smoke. Um, you know, when I studied theology at Concordia, I was part of a high church group, and we would joke that if there wasn't smoke in the service, it really wasn't a service. We were kind of, that snobby kind of group of kids. Um, and, the, the, the aspect that his grandfather is teaching him something, and that description of the pipe and its connotation, smoke and incense in a religious service is to make something pure, it's to make something holy. There's a smell that will constantly bring you back. There's the sight of it, tending to it. And in a service, you have an acolyte or a thurifer that will have the thurible. So a thurifer is an individual that is, an acolyte that is going to be tending the incense, and the thurible is the receptacle that the incense is in. And so there's somebody that's tending to it. There's somebody that is there that's going to help bring you along in this religious experience. And the way that Justin describes his grandfather tending that pipe is very, very um, religious in that kind of context, which is really where he is going with in this book, describing a religious experience with trout. And I find it absolutely interesting. So, Justin has worked very hard over the last few years to restore a trout stream and a trout habitat, and that has become his personal religion and his personal faith, and he describes it very well. And you can get this religious environmentalist perspective on trout while reading these particular booklets. And I hope you take the time to pick these up when they come out. I expect them to come out uh, in the local market area soon, and I really hope you enjoy it because I have. And yeah, um, thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this, and I hope uh, your new year has started well. Thank you.